is a nostalgic sound necessarily a bad thing for hip hop? If we look at it as an ecosystem and balance and rap music and all that type of stuff, is that a bad thing? Like, I don't think it's a bad thing to dip into, certain eras and try to bring a certain vibe back. Especially with Hit Boy and Benny. I think they put a new spin on it from a normal Griselda sound, but I don't. It doesn't strike me as a bad thing. But I do that. And Spoolz, I come to you first because you actually one of the people that put me on to Griselda. Like, is a nostalgic sound, is that a bad thing?
I don't think so, man. Like in music, like in general, like it seems to be. I don't know why it is not always looked upon very well in hip hop. Maybe it's because hip hop is something that's just constantly evolving, like all the time, like maybe more so than other genres. I don't know.
Right.
But no, man, I think that it's not like, and what's interesting, it's not like Benny's copying 20 years ago or 25 years ago or 30 years ago. You know what I mean? It's just it's just this concept or this label that we attach to the way he rhymes because it's so reminiscent of when really being, I guess, what people just call now generally lyrical was more important back then. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So that's my opinion, at least. So no, I don't think it's bad at all. And I guess I don't always understand. Okay, so I guess here's one thing, right? So playing devil's advocate, it holds the art form back. Like doing that for some reason, like it slows it down or holds it back. And again, I would say it doesn't, because he doesn't sound exactly like people from 25, 30 years ago. Like it's different. It just has this flavor to it that's, again, reminiscent of an earlier time. So no, man, I don't think it's bad at all. So
I think reminiscent, like you said, I think that's perfect. Like, I'm not, like, he's not saying that he hates Griselda. We just were having a conversation. But anything to me, anything that
you can like whatever you want. Like, I don't have a problem. I like him a lot and have for a long time. But if you don't, that's cool. You know what I mean? That's all good. I don't care. But overall, just to the question, no, I don't think that there's an issue with nostalgia at all. I think it's a good thing. I think it reinforces aspects of the culture. So yeah.
And I think people jump out the window when it sounds, they'll take it all the way there when it reminds you of versus actually sounding exactly like. Those are two different things.
Yeah, well, hip hop's like that too. I mean, and it I guess it occurs in other genres, you could say, but like the concept of copying someone's style, or you sound like this, you know what I mean? Like that's a big deal. It's a really big deal, I mean, again, it's that way, I guess you could say, in other genres. But again, sometimes, I mean, I say that a lot, but I don't like comparing. I feel like hip hop's just its own thing, man. Like it's not like other genres necessarily, but in some ways it is. I don't know.
I can dig it. Lone, jump in there, man. Where are you at on this?
I don't see. I don't see I mean, why is it nostalgic? You know what I mean? Like, because the production is sounds like something that was similar in the 90s, because they're, like one of the comments says, because they rap like drug dealers. Like, is that it's like I don't know, like I feel like they are different. I kind of get it, but I think it's kind of a lazy argument, to be honest. Because even the sample stuff that they kind of made popular again on the underground stuff is reminiscent in a way of like heavy sample loops, minimalistic production, and leaving space for the artist over some eerie type of stuff. So I kind of get that a little bit, I guess, if you're relating it to like a Mobb Deep or something, but like it's so much different, and if you actually listen to what they're talking about and where they're from, it's not, they're just talking about their lives. It's not like they're trying to like mimic somebody from 1993 or 94, so I don't know. That's
where I'm at with it.
That's just how I feel.
That's where I'm at with it. There's one thing to remind you of something. There's another thing to say, it's completely that. You know what I mean? Jay Diff, jump in there, man. Just from a nostalgic feel. Is that a bad thing? Good thing?
I'm gonna put it like this. I've said before that the production that Derringer and what's my guy's name?
Alchemist.
Alchemist.
Not Alchemist. The other one. Can't remember his name. Anyway, their producer style is like a polished RZA. Like I hear, like, if RZA was still making beats that sounded decent, you know what I'm saying? Because I ain't taking nothing away from him, but his sound is kind of, you know, it's
He took the
Loner
wrong
out
turn.
here.
He took the wrong turn.
It's kind of like it's kind of like where he should have been at this point, if I were to put it anything to where nostalgia would be. But comparing them, the sound wise, it's really not. It doesn't sound old school. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like the comparison of, just because Shine is white, you compare him to Eminem, and he sounds nothing like Eminem. You know what I'm saying? It's an apples and oranges type of thing. I do like the fact that they're a crew that is constantly putting out quality material. Even that new Benny doesn't sound like anything that Griselda has put out. It's like it totally went left field as far as the sound is concerned.
Interestingly, though, go ahead.
That one, in my opinion, kind of sounds like an early 2000s Jay-Z feel. It doesn't sound like it, but it gives me that feel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But essentially, it's not old sounding. It's still polished. It's still fresh. But I do understand you want to throw on some Timbs and a bubble coat or something because it puts you back in that position you was in 95, 96.
Okay. What were you gonna say, Long? Before I thought you were gonna jump in there before I go to J.
Yeah, I was exactly what Terry said. I was gonna say it sounded more like 2000-ish Jay-Z records, like rock records. Sound like Just Blaze a little bit, you know, like similar. So I got that nostalgic feeling from it, I guess, a little bit, you know, but it wasn't. It didn't sound like that's what they were necessarily going for, or like they were trying to bite anything. It just sounded like that's what it sounded like. So.
Jay Moore, talk to me, man. Talk to me about the retro vibes.
See, the thing is, I don't really get a retro vibe. You know, I mean, people talk about that whole Griselda movement almost like they're doing Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, Nas, Jay-Z cosplay. And I don't really see that. You know, I think that they, like I said, they're speaking from their own experiences. And you got to remember that these aren't young guys. Like, it's not like they're relatively new as far as the public consciousness is concerned.
That's a great point, Jay.
You know, but this is not like they're these 19, 20, 21-year-old guys who are out here rapping on the radio right now. Like, you know, these guys have, you know, they've lived real life and served some real hard time, you know, and to get back and to do this music thing, you know, it's from their experience and from what they probably enjoy listening to, you know. So I've never really, but I feel like it feels like today, like just because there are some chopped up soul samples, I mean, that's not something that had to be stuck in you know, 1994 or whatever. And just because, like, you know, Benny actually tries to put some words together, I guess that's retro because he's trying to rap, you know, and that you know, everything that they rhyme about doesn't make it seem like the sun is shining outside. I know that seems like it's a little different if you contrast it to what you may hear on the radio, just because, like, you know, these new rappers and / R&B singers or whatever, all they do is, you know, take women on vacations and go to the strip club, you know. And so, like, you don't I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, you know, if that's how you live in. But, you know, sometimes I came up on, there's a lot of hip hop I like that I don't mind that it sounds like kind of like a cloudy day. And I think that might be what makes it seem so retro, because everything is, you know, if you're looking at it from a popular music standpoint, you wouldn't think there are really any problems outside, you know. And I don't, you know, you don't get that vibe from the whole Griselda camp. Well, they, you know, mind you, they still say some wild shit too, you know, like, you know, cooking a brick in the air fryer and all that, you know.
I knew you.
but you know, they still a little outrageous with. But you know, you need that
Off-White on my brick.
So you know, they still there's some times where they still enjoying themselves. You know, I can tell. But you know, I don't. You know, I don't think it's fair to brand them with this retro vibe, because then it makes it seem like, oh, why would anybody under the age of like 37 try to get into their music? You know, it almost puts them in a space to where, you know, if you tell somebody 19 years old about some retro hip hop, they'll be like, I'm not listening to that. And I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, Conductor Williams is actually the producer that I was thinking about, and actually. The cool thing about Griselda is a lot of their stuff ain't even samples.
Mm-hmm.
These is like
they get replayed,
all original instrumentation and replayed. You know what I'm saying? So they're actually taking it a step further.
One of West Side Gun's projects, what is the producer's name? You know who I'm talking about? That collab with Derringer to make the original joints. The whole project.
The Beat Butcher from New York. Yeah, he's really dope. And they just had him like redo some stuff, which is at least that's my guess.
On YouTube or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really, really talented.
It takes the level of talent to be able to recreate that sound from an arrangement standpoint, and for him to replay and try to play certain things for it to come out and still sound like that. To me, Lone knows that that's super impressive to me. Like that, for them to be able to go through there and him to be able to replay certain stuff and they can still chop it up. Like he get high marks from me on that, because I know how hard that shit is, man. Like to go no sample and still have that vibe. So,
yep.
No, man, that's dope. Like I think I agree with what everybody is saying. It's just a good conversation. The chat is pretty much on the same thing. I think they looking at us like we crazy when I said I'm crazy when I said nostalgic. Okay, they going through there. Yeah,
I mean, I
point.
get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. I understand that point. But at the same time, if you wasn't there, if you haven't been constantly listening to music and hearing how it evolved and how it still sounds fresh and polished, yeah, I can see you saying that it is old or a nod to old when not.
Yeah, like some of these things though, like some of these chops, some of these projects, I'm like, to Spoolz' point, there are elements there, but it's not. None of this shit sounds like Mobb Deep. Like you can pull elements from anything. None of this shit sounds like Wu-Tang Forever. It doesn't sound like that. You know what I'm saying? Like there's elements with the sampling and the looping. I get that, but I don't hear anything that sounds like Only Built for Cuban Links.
You know what's interesting is here's a huge difference I think between the two, and this isn't taking anything away from Griselda at all. But Griselda doesn't really do like story raps, man. You know what I mean? Like none of those cats really do that. Like you don't hear that much in hip hop, or at least you know in anything really popular anymore. You know, but Prodigy, Havoc, you know, Wu-Tang, they told really good stories, man. They did it really well. You know, it's just a difference in what they rhyme about. So again, not taking anything away from anyone, but
and you can definitely tell that when what was it, West Side Gun's album where he had Slick Rick on it twice, and you can just,
right.
I mean that's how Rick raps. So it's like you can hear the contrast really serious, like when it features somebody who is from that era.
I mean, and that's what I'm saying is like, and Griselda's they're still really fucking dope. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but and that's kind of the point I'm making is like it's not, or that we're all making, I think, is that they don't sound like them, like Mobb Deep. They don't, but it's just reminiscent of, you know.
Yeah, reminiscent is the word that I would take from this conversation. Like it reminds you of it, but you know, just to completely say that's the reason. I'm like, nah, I've been out here. I've seen some of these shows, and you know, it's just their success is bigger than just that. I couldn't label their success as just that. There's no way I could do that.
I agree.
Based off the projects and the stuff that they've put out, I think that's an unfair assessment in my opinion. You can't just put that on them.
And
I mean, their testament will be consistency as well too. I mean, because they're literally a machine. They don't stop. They constantly keep hitting you with projects. I was actually talking to Bo about this a couple of days ago, how you have these artists that are putting out these 20 song projects, but then you have Griselda that are breaking it up down to something consumable, something you can digest and be ready for something new. You know what I'm saying? So their formula is working for them. The sound sounds good, and I mean, they're dope artists.
Yep.
Consistency is key.
Yeah.
West Side Gun is the A&R of 2020.
Yeah, man. Like he's, you know, like I always tell people, West Side Gun, he's not the most lyrical out the crew. He's not the this, he's not the that. But you can tell that he is like he has his imprint on anything that they do. You can tell just by how the product comes out. Like what they're doing is working. It works.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they found a niche, they've carved it out, and it's been successful. Like, you know, you just gotta show love. You know what I mean? I think it actually helps with the balance. You know what I'm saying? Because now it's nowhere near as balanced as it used to be. You know, and for them to be able to come in and just carve out a lane and be somewhat, I ain't gonna say popular, but be relevant in that lane, that does help with the balance, because the copycat level now is ridiculous. Everything sounds the same. So I think there's value in them having an alternate sound. Right. There's a value in that. You know what I'm saying? So
what Benny say? He the only new rapper that can go in Tupac in the same era as Tupac or something like that. He said.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean these cats was pretty much in high school the same time we was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not that much older than them. Yeah, we're not that much older than them.
If you've enjoyed this segment of the New Old Heads podcast, make sure to join our live show every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/bringingdowntheband and join our private Discord community with talks on hip-hop music news and everything else.